A Monday Night Football doubleheader to close out Week 15 of the NFL season. So the Minnesota Vikings pick up a 30-12 victory over the Chicago Bears, and the Atlanta Falcons survive in Vegas against the Raiders, 15-9 victory. We're going to talk about both games in this video. Going to start with the Vikings win over the Bears. For the Vikings, a dominant victory in this game. Darnold looks decent, not perfect. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, again, a really good wide receiver duo. The yardage not there, but some really good catches in this game. Aaron Jones shows his worth, shows the worth of having a running game in December as the games get a little sloppier, and the Vikings defense holds strong against Chicago and their weapons. You know, the last time these two teams played was just a couple weeks ago, and it was that overtime game that the Vikings snuck out a win. The Bears fall to 4-10, 0-7 on the road this year. Mentally tough teams succeed on the road. Mentally weak teams fail on the road. The Chicago Bears are 0-7 on the road. We're going to talk about them in just a second. I want to talk about the Vikings, though, the victors from this game. What does this mean for Minnesota? 12-2, same record as the Lions. Detroit, 3 major injuries suffered yesterday. Aleem McNeil, torn ACL, done for the year. Running back, David Montgomery, MCL injury, done for the year. Carlton Davis, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section, I don't think the news came out yet, but could be done for the year. The Detroit Lions are a battered and bruised team, but they are still the 1 seed in the NFC and still the 1 seed in the NFC North. The Minnesota Vikings have a game with these same Lions coming up here very shortly. The Vikings are very much so in real play to have the 1 seed in the NFC. And I just moved the Vikings up in my tier list last week to Super Bowl contenders. And even though nothing changed for them, their percentage of the pie of what NFC team can go to the Super Bowl just got bigger because of this. The Minnesota Vikings, if they win out, and if the Eagles win out, get the 1 seed. The Vikings' fate is in their hands when it comes to the 1 seed. And if this team gets a bye, only has to play 2 games to get to a Super Bowl, has every team coming to Minnesota with that crowd, we know they can get loud, there's a real shot. There is a real shot. And obviously, we could live in hypothetical land and talk about what that means for what this team does with Sam Darnold versus JJ McCarthy. But let's take it one step at a time. The Vikings got a real defense. They have a top 2 wide receiver in the NFL. You know, you could argue Chase and Jefferson in the comment section. We got all off season to talk about it. A top tier wide receiver duo. When you factor in Jordan Addison, a real run game with Aaron Jones and Cam Akers has been solid for them. TJ Hawkinson, real pieces. An offensive line that obviously isn't fully healthy, missing Darashaw, but hey, they're working with what they got. Brian Flores got that strong defense. By the way, he was right about Tua. Just saying. And the Vikings look legit. The Vikings look legit again. You know, this is what good teams do. Monday Night Football, divisional team, come into your building, make it look like a cakewalk. Vikings own this game. For the Bears, man, you know, the Twitter narrative is Caleb Williams needs help. I don't think it's Caleb Williams needs help in terms of talent. DeAndre Swift, we know he's a good talent player. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet. There's talent around Caleb Williams in terms of weapons. The offensive line, it's not great. Could be better, but it's not the worst. This team is poorly coached. And obviously, Eberflus had to go. They made the right decision. But the interim guy isn't that great either. You get this Bears team an offensive-minded play caller that could really do good. I mean, that's a real, genuine play caller. You know, this could very well be a playoff team. And the morale of this team changed after that Washington Hail Mary for them, Hail Mary for the Commanders. You know, remember, the Bears were 4-2 going into that game. They've lost 8 straight. They haven't won a game in 2 months since that play. It broke them. It broke them mentally. The team's mentally weak, like I said. 0-7 on the road. Mentally tough teams can go on the road. Mentally weak teams crumble. The Chicago Bears are mentally weak. There's no way around it. And when you have a rookie quarterback That is on coaching. That is on coaching to set the tone, set the culture. And right now, that tone and that culture is a loser mentality. It is a weak mentality, and you are seeing it play out on the football field each and every week. Whether it's the offense, whether it's the defense, whether it's Caleb Williams on the bench, huffing and puffing, falling over, being dramatic. I love Caleb, but you can't be doing that. I think Caleb's going to have a great NFL career. You can't be doing that. Your team can't see you as the leader looking weak and pouting on the bench as you lose your 8th straight game. The team needs an identity shift. They need a culture guy. They need a better offensive play caller. They need a lot of change in leadership in Chicago. And it's not to say that Ryan Poles is bad, but maybe a shakeup everywhere. You know, if you bring in a Vrabel to shift the culture to be no nonsense, no BS, I could respect that. But there needs to be a good OC along with him. Because we saw with Shane Waldron, this team's offense was a joke. Having to have a meeting with your offensive coordinator 3 weeks into the season, unacceptable. So the Bears continue to be the Bears, continue to be weak-minded, continue to have a weak culture, 0-7 on the road this year. That's all you need to know about this Bears team. For the Vikings, you dominate. Again, you're 12-2, and your fate is in your hands. Win out, and you're the 1 seed. It's not to say that it's an easy schedule. Seattle, Green Bay, and Detroit. That ain't easy. But you'd rather have your fate in your own hands. Unlike a team like Cincinnati, who needs Denver to lose 3 straight to have a shot. Minnesota, fate's in their hands. Then we get to this Falcons-Raiders game. And the Falcons are a joke. Listen, they won a 15-9. There might be some Falcons fans in this video. It is what it is. They survived. They survived the Las Vegas Raiders, who were on a 3rd-string quarterback, who was Desmond Ridder, who was so bad that this Falcons team cut him. Desmond Ridder's not an NFL quarterback. Desmond Ridder's barely a backup quarterback. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to shit all over Desmond Ridder here. The guy made the NFL. The guy finds a career. I'm happy for him. But in terms of talent, if you're a playoff team, you shouldn't be surviving a game against Desmond Ridder and the Vegas Raiders, who are on, their 4th-string running back, who traded away Devontae Adams earlier in this season, who, when we talk about them, we're talking Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. Who should they pick with the number 1 overall pick in the draft? If you are a playoff team, which Atlanta aspires to be, you shouldn't be escaping that game after losing 4 straight. The Falcons are cooked. This is why this game is a perfect representation of why I say I so hope that the Buccaneers hold on to this division. Because the Falcons' divisional record and them being 2-0 against the Bucs this year, that'd be the only reason that they win the division, would be a tie. But Tampa Bay, I pray that they hold strong, because this Atlanta offense, it's so boring, man. It is such a boring watch. It really is. The defense isn't great. It's just the Vegas Raiders offense is so bad. Bijan Robinson, I'll say this, he has come into his own this year. 22 carries, 125 yards in this one, 5.7 yards per carry. And the crazy thing about this is the Falcons offense is so predictable that based on, where Kirk Cousins is lined up, genuinely speaking, the defense can kind of guess the run. If he's under center, it's going to be a stretch play to the right. That way he's not pushing off the the right Achilles, the one that he tore. It's pretty much always a stretch to the right if he's lined up under center. And if he's in shotgun, it's inside zone to whichever side, obviously, Bijan's not facing, or Bijan is facing, excuse me. And even with the predictability of the Falcons offense, Bijan Robinson is finding a way to average over 5 yards a carry and has 125 yards tonight. How many times do we watch Bijan make something out of nothing? Like, this kid's an absolute stud. I pray that next year when Michael Penix gets in there, the offense can be more dynamic, because with Bijan and Drake London and Darnell Mooney, who came into his own this year, and whatever's left of Kyle Pitts at that point, they could be exciting. Everybody came into this year excited for the Falcons, and The offense is just as inept as it was last year with Desmond Ridder. The difference is Kirk's just a little bit more of a pro, or a lot more of a pro, I should say, but it's IQ. He's just a smarter player, but he's just virtually immobile at this point. Ridder had mobility. Kirk Cousins can't move. And this Falcons offense is stagnant. It's boring. It's not a good product in terms of what I'm watching on my television. So they survived this game, but, the Falcons, coming off of losing 4 in a row, survive on the road to Desmond Ridder and the 2-12 number 1 pick holding Vegas Raiders. And for the Raiders, consider yourselves lucky to win this game. Like, you want to have the number 1 pick, whether it's you pass on Shador and Cam Ward and take Travis Hunter and you say, we don't actually like the quarterbacks in this draft class, or one of those guys is your guy. Like, at least you have that fate in your hands. If you're the Raiders, you want to be able to make your pick and get your guy, whoever that may be. Interesting thought exercise is the team seems to really love Antonio Pierce. Loved him last year, love him this year. But having the number 1 overall pick, can you keep that guy? Or is it a situation where you should clean house and bring in an offensive-minded head coach? Because if not, are you going to end up like the Bears? That's something that Vegas has to look at themselves and decide. But ultimately, this Falcons-Raiders game, thank God there was another game on. Neither of these games, this game was interesting because at the end it was competitive, and the earlier game was more interesting just because of the Vikings and Caleb and that whole story. But doubleheader Monday Night Football game with 2 subpar games. We're trucking through the end of the season here as we push for the playoffs. I can't wait, but those are my thoughts on tonight's Monday Night Football games. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. If you love the NFL and you're not subbed to this channel, you could be within the first 100 to do so. Hit that button. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.